So the 1140, there have been a couple questions about it and posts online, so I'm gonna take a look at mine and see if there's anything that I can do to help anybody with their questions. First thing I'm gonna do is pop the top off the water hopper here, because it did not, the water hopper doesn't drain easily through the tiny hole. So I think I'm gonna actually switch mine over to oil cooling and just fill it with oil, because it's so hard to get the water out of that hopper, and the hopper is scale very tiny. So it always seems to have an issue with boiling out. So anyhow, so the question a lot of people have been talking about online, and I've never looked at, is the side of the engine here with the oil pump on it. So I'm gonna pop this flywheel off if I can. I guess the first question is, how does this flywheel come off? But it's got a series of screws here for the starter, and once that's out of the way, I'm going to take a deeper look. These are 1.5 millimeter screw heads. And the question people have been asking about is whether there's supposed to be a seal on, or whether there is a seal under here, and I've never looked. I do remember when I got this engine, I put oil in it, and it is easy to overfill this with oil. So when I first did it, it was overfilled with oil, and then it wanted to leak everywhere. And okay, we got a nut under here. Is that an 8 millimeter nut? Yes, an 8 millimeter nut, which I've not seen a nut holding this on, and there appears to be a keyway, so I am going to gently put this nut on. The nut is gently on there. There. And some very light taps with a hammer on the nut so that the threads don't get banged over, allowed this to come off. That is very nicely made. Look at the back of that. Very beautiful. It's got what? A round machined key here. And then this cover is on the water pump side. Oh, and that's also where the ignition is hidden. Okay. I hadn't actually looked around to figure out where the ignition is hiding on this, but here's the trigger wire, and it's on the back side of this piece here, so it must have a magnet on the camshaft, because I believe that's the camshaft. Because I believe that's a magnetic trigger, but I will have to look at that as well. Because this is the newest ignition system that only takes a single AA battery. All right. And some really gross insides here, but we can see on the inside of this cover there's no seal, but there is an O-ring around the edge of the chamber here, because it does pump oil up in here, and then there's oil in the bottom of the chamber there. So the oil circulation does happen on this engine, but there is not a seal right here. And I don't know, I have a feeling I don't know if you could put a fiber seal on the inside there to block the oil from getting out, and the fiber seal wouldn't, seal tight against anything, but the fiber prevents the oil from splashing hard enough to get out. So, but there is still oil in this engine from my earlier fill of it. Let's see now. The oil pump must be this rod, or this bump must have the oil pump in it, because this is just, it appears to be a dummy detail of some kind. But that's very interesting. Alright, well, I don't know if I'm going to take this engine further apart, or if I'm just going to put that cover back on. But now I know how this engine goes together, and hopefully that answers some questions other people might have had about their engines and what this seal looks like.